Hey solos, so you were planning on going to Walt Disney World all by yourself, and you were looking for a podcast that can give you some tips, that can tell you some stories, that can encourage you, that can help you like manifest and conjure some Disney solo magic in your daily life. Where could you find such a podcast? Solo spoiler. The Disney Solo Magic podcast is not only the number one podcast for solo travel to Disney World, it is also going into its second year. Happy anniversary to us. Hi everyone, it is Samantha. Olaf may not know who Samantha is, but now you do. And welcome to Disney Solo Magic, the number one podcast for solo travel to Disney World that is going into its second full year. In this episode, it is going to be a little celebration of this podcast. I'm going to talk about where we've been, where I currently am, like physically am by the time you are listening to this podcast, and what I hope is some really, really exciting plans for the future of this community. And I just really hope that you think it's exciting too. Now, I'm at Walt Disney World this week, and so make sure you follow me on all the social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. All the links are below. There is another way that you can also follow my trip photos and like little voice memos and things like that, which you'll see if you look in the description, but I'll talk about that a little bit later on. And make sure you listen to this on Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube. Please rate, review, subscribe. That's such a great way to support the podcast. But there's also another way. And we're going to talk about that soon. Let's get right on into it. All right. So my little Virgo heart is actually very sad about this. But this 1 year anniversary episode is episode number 47. And I really wish I would have done some better math, because I would have much preferred if this was like episode 50 or episode 52. But nope, it's 47, which is super, super weird. This is episode 47. It is also the 1 year anniversary of this podcast to the day. This podcast came out April the 1st, 2024, and I was at Disney World when that happened, and like a lovely coincidence is that I'm also going to be at Walt Disney World for the anniversary of the podcast as well. And I just think that's such wonderful timing. That's such pixie dusted timing. While this is episode 47, there is actually over 80 different pieces of media that I have uploaded and shared with you all as part of this podcast. So yeah, I guess on paper there are 47 episodes, but actually in those early days there were a few things that I wanted to just provide these big overviews. And so I know the second episode I broke down into part A and part B. So there's definitely more than 47 episodes. Plus, on top of that, I have interviewed 15 different people for this podcast, which has just been amazing. And all of those have been bonus episodes. Plus, I've also uploaded other bonus episodes, such as Ride, Rid, and Relocate, like the, Marry, F, Kill for Disney rides. I've also done bonus episodes on little anxiety things that have happened to me, or things that I've ate on the trip, or all these different things. And so taken together, over 80 different things have been posted over the last year. And gosh, that's crazy. And so thank you all so much for listening to them. I'll tell you a little secret. So for the first, because I didn't know, I knew that there would be an audience for this. Hey, solos. I knew there would be an audience for this, but I wasn't quite sure, how to make sure we all find each other. And so because I didn't really want to stress out about that, I just really wanted to create content. I didn't look at the numbers really for the first 3 to 6 months. I really wanted to let the podcast grow on its own without worrying about metrics. And sometimes I would go on and I would just check to make sure, especially for the solo stories, that people were listening, that people could access the podcast episodes, things like that. But I didn't want to be driven by numbers. Now, I did have a number in my head that was like the make or break number for whether or not I would continue. And when I started like looking at the listenership numbers and I was seeing them grow, I was like, oh gosh, I do think that we are all building something here that this podcast is really, really tapping into. And I just really love like all of your DMs and to hear about your trips and to like hear questions. And that's when I was like, oh yeah. Not only are people listening, like it's really resonating with people. And so I was on the fence for a while about whether or not I should do a second season. But all of those things together really was like, yeah, just go for it. Like do that second season. And I'll tell you though, the real nail in the coffin, I mean, that sounds bad. Like the real deciding factor between whether or not to go forward with the second season or not is when I saw the survey results, the ones that you filled out last month. Because when I saw those survey results, especially for like what I should do on my own Disney vacation that's coming up, like that I'm on currently, is I was like, oh, I found my people. You all are my people. You all are my people. We found each other. That's amazing. Because what I learned from, like I said, not even the questions about the future of the podcast, but just the questions about like, what should I do on my vacation? I was like, yes, this is a group of people that really think of solo travel to Disney as something that is so important for themselves, to themselves, and to prioritize that type of healing work is what I mean, but it also sounds much heavier than I intended. Like to prioritize yourself in that way and the magic and things like that, especially in this current kind of crazy climate that we're living in. I just felt so much resonance with you, and I've been thinking about ways to build the community. And again, I think I have a really good one, so I'm really excited, and I hope you are too. Okay, so I'm currently at Walt Disney World. Last year, I took a trip for Easter, actually. It was like March 30th, March 31st, and April 1st that I was at Disney World. Like I said, the podcast launched while I was there, which was really cool. I was like, okay, I've scheduled it. It's on a scheduler. Everything is meant to be, will be. And I got a button done. Like I got the special handwriting done from the Ye Olde Christmas shop in Liberty Village. I said sound wrong. In Magic Kingdom. And I like got some beautiful pictures with it. You can see it on Instagram. I also lost it right after that. So I'm glad I have the pictures. And yeah, I was like, okay, well, I hope this is some good vibes. So a year long, I didn't mean to be there for the anniversary, but I will be there for the anniversary. And what's really great, which is a really lovely coincidence, is that I'm actually going to meet up with some solos who I've interviewed for the podcast. In fact, there's like a whole group of us that are going to be kind of around there, around Walt Disney World for the week. I'm not going to be able to meet and see everybody, but it is really cool that I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, we met for the podcast, we've done solo stories together, and now I get a chance to meet in person. And I just think it's a beautiful 1 year way to celebrate the podcast, and I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know if you can hear some background noise. There's a cat who is sitting in the luggage that I am currently trying to pack after I finish recording this. So let's talk first about my upcoming trip and what I'm planning on doing for the trip and how you all have really, really helped me make that plan. Before I do that, I'm going to jump into something a little bit serious, which is going to Walt Disney World right now as a Canadian. I've had family members as well as listeners send me messages to be like, ugh. Like, are you planning on going to the US still with the current climate, with the tariffs, with like, all the stuff that's happening? And this is my answer to them, and this is my answer to you. Disney is a very special place to me personally. I do not feel when I go to Disney the presence of big politics that I feel infringes on people's an inherent necessity to be themselves safely. And when that changes, that is when I will protest whatever is happening by removing my dollars from Walt Disney World. So if people who are queer, if people of color are saying that they no longer feel safe at Disney World and the Disney properties because of what is happening, then I will be allies to those people, and I will also like take my money away from Disney for that. Disney have taken away a few like diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. You might notice if you watch any Disney Plus shows right now, there's no longer a disclaimer identifying some depictions in movies as racist. And like, I don't love any of that. I super don't love that. So we'll see if anything changes at the parks, and that will be a huge determining factor about how I continue to travel to Disney. The other factor is very practical, which is like whether or not it is safe and whether or not it is affordable. So, like the Canadian dollar isn't very strong in comparison to the American dollar right now. And, just got to keep watching that. So as of right now, I'm not worried about going next week, or not worried about going as you were listening to me. I will reflect on that back when I come back. And I am still planning on going to D23 in August. I hope you are too, and then we can meet up a little bit more. But like, who knows what the world is going to be like, and whether or not I like pause this podcast if I feel like I need to pause going to Disney. I don't know. We'll see. There's so many things happening in the world right now that I do think having like spaces of community, spaces of growth, spaces of like personal growth, spaces of reflection, spaces of fun, spaces of magic are very, very important. And I do like think of the podcast as a place for fun and reflection and magic and things like that. And so that's what I have to say about that. So am I nervous? No, not really, but like, we shall see, I guess. We shall see. Okay, so Disney. Now, when you listen to this, I'll have already been at Disney for a day. Remember, you can go on Instagram and you can see pictures and stories and lives and things like that. But there's another way that you can see all those things, and I will come back to that in a second. So in the survey, I asked you, when I arrive, should I go to the water park because it's free for all Disney Resort guests? The day that they check into their hotel, they get into Blizzard Beach, the water park, for free in 2025. And that's a special, very special discount that, it's very hard for Disney to give away anything for free these days. So it's a very special promotion. And I was like, should I take advantage of that? Or should I go to the Vineland Outlet Mall and go shopping at the Disney Character Warehouse? And overwhelming group of you said, go shopping. So I don't know if this is because you all don't care about water parks, you don't care about that particular promotion, or whether or not you just think that I would have more fun shopping. When I read that, I was like, yeah, you all are my people. Overwhelmingly, you said to go to the Vineland Outlet Mall shopping. And I'm like, cool, done, no problem. So that is the plan, to go to the Vineland Mall, to go shopping at the Character Warehouse. And I'm very much looking forward to that. But a really fun twist that might change that is the fact that I am meeting up with some people that I met through the podcast, and we might go to the Vineland Outlet Mall together, which is cool. Again, just to go to Character Warehouse, I like to stay in the bubble as much as possible. And if we do that in the evening, because I probably wouldn't do an Uber by myself to the Vineland Mall in the evening, but I don't know, going with a couple people or going with a person to do that, that's it makes me feel a little bit more safe. Then I was like, maybe when I arrive into Orlando, I could go to Blizzard Beach, even just for an hour or two, get some lazy river time in. My body definitely needs a lazy river, create some content for the podcast, and then come back and also do Vineland. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to do on the first day. And the reason why the Blizzard Beach idea, like fitting that in even just for an hour or two, the reason why that has actually been really appealing is is for a couple of reasons. Number one, I love a good deal, and I do not love to leave like money on the table. And so if there is a promotion, I do want to take advantage of it. So there you go. The second reason is that my body could definitely use a lazy river these days. Like, God, I love a lazy river. And I was like, even if you just do the lazy river, that could be enough. That could be enough. But then the third reason is actually the most important for you. And that's because, well, there's this educational theory called expert blind spot. And while I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm a Disney expert, the theory of the expert blind spot is that when you become an expert in a particular thing, you forget what it's like to be a novice. So I wouldn't say I'm a Disney expert, but I do recognize that I speak about a lot of these experiences from the position of somebody who has done them, who's familiar with them, who's comfortable with them, and really wants you to participate in them as well. But because I haven't been to Blizzard Beach, or if I have, it was like 35 years ago. No, it hasn't even been open for 35 years. I think it actually celebrates its 30th anniversary, April the 1st. So today, the day if you're listening when it's published. So I guess I've never been to Blizzard Beach. Anyway, that's fine. Because I've never been to Blizzard Beach, going for the first time on this promotion means I can like tap into those feelings of what it is like to go and do these things for the first time and go do them solo. What it's like to figure out a new park, what it's like to navigate a new situation, and then I can also give you tips and tricks related to, actually, I don't want to like overextend myself because a lot of tips and tricks that I come up with are based on multiple trips, right? But then I can give you perhaps a tip or something that I learned from my novice trip into Blizzard Beach. So we'll see if that works out. I've said on the podcast, like, I need a nap. I get migraines really easily, especially if I don't get enough sleep. And my flight leaves at 7 a.m, which means I will be waking up at like 4 a.m. And as a night owl, sometimes I go to sleep at 4 a.m. So we'll see if that works out. But it is something I'm definitely thinking about. How can I create some like more experiences for me to do things I've never done before so I can better talk about them on the podcast and remember what it's like to do these things for the first time. So anyway, that whole big preamble is thank you for encouraging me to go shopping, but I might be able to do both, and that's pretty cool too. All right, the next question I asked is whether or not I should go to Crystal Palace for a brunch, for a buffet, which is a restaurant I've never been before, or whether or not I should go to Columbia Harbor House, my tried and true at Magic Kingdom, and like not try anything new, but just like try my favorites. And that's difficult for me at like regular restaurants too. Do I go for the thing that I love, or do I go and I try something new? So a lot of you really encouraged me to go try Crystal Palace, and I am into it. I'm especially into it because of all those facts, those fun facts that I shared in the episode where I talked about all the different options. The fact that it was one of the first buffets, one of the first character meals at Magic Kingdom, well, in the Walt Disney World Resort property, that the like garden in the front used to be a fountain, that it used to be kind of a cafeteria style restaurant. Like I'm really interested in seeing like the inside of the space for all those reasons. And I hear the food's good, and like the Winnie the Pooh characters aren't really like my number one set of characters, but they're not my number one set of characters, I'm into them. They're just like, I know some people are just like have such affinity for Winnie the Pooh and Friends, and that's not me, but I don't not like them. So I'm into it. I'm into that. Thanks so much for that. Thanks so much for encouraging me to do that. A few people actually, though, did write in answers that said they don't like to do character dining solo. And I definitely understand that. I totally get that. And doing like buffet is definitely different when you are solo. Although I actually think buffets are like the best for solos. Maybe I'll do a whole nother episode just repeating that over and over and over again. And I do understand why character dining would make one feel awkward solo, but I really encourage you to try it out if you haven't done it, and just the idea kind of, But again, if we do a big meetup around D23, we could all do a big like family style character meal together, because family style is not good to do solo, but it might be cool to do it all together. All right, moving on. The other question that I asked about the new Poly Tower, whether or not I should go just for a drink and casual, or I should do a full meal. And that one was actually 50-50. That one was straight down the middle. And so I'm just going to see what my timing is like, how I feel, and then decide based on that. But I am hoping to poke around as much as possible. And you did indicate that you do want more like explicit reviews rather than just kind of suggestions of things that I liked or didn't like. And so I will keep that in mind as I make my order there. I'm looking forward to checking out the hotel. I also asked about things that were kind of like temporal. Like I said, should I plan on doing Flower and Garden the way I planned and doing Muppets Vision 3D RIP, because that's not going to be around very long. And those are things that I would do just generally because I do love those things. But I asked you, like, should I prioritize also going to Dino Land and doing Tom Sawyer's Island that also kind of have a expiry date to them? And most of you were like, nah, girl, just like do Flower and Garden, do Muppets Vision 3D. And so that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, a few of you suggested doing doing a couple things at Dino Land. But I mean, again, if you look at the percentages, it was pretty much in favor of not worrying about that. And the thing about Dino Land, I am not sad about seeing that go. There's just like there's energy there that I just don't love. And Molly from Mammoth Club worked there as a cast member, and so she'll do videos, and she did this for All Ears as well. She'll do whole videos talking about the backstory of it, and it makes so much sense. It's such a interesting, rich storyline of this land. But nah. And I like dinosaurs. Like, I would do Velocicoaster, even though I don't like big, fast roller coasters, because I like the storyline, right? Like, I would go to Universal Studios to see Jurassic Park. But there's just something about Dino Land and Animal Kingdom that I'm very excited for it to be reimagined into tropical Americas. I might do Tom Sawyer's if I have some time, but I think that will be around for a little bit longer. So anyway, thanks for letting me know that. And the final question that I asked you about my trip was whether or not I should just make this a full-on, action-packed, like get your lightning lanes for every single day type of trip, or if it should be a more calm, thoughtful, reflective, #Disney Solo Magic type of trip. And the overwhelming majority of you said make this just like, don't worry about the lightning lanes, just find some time to make this a relaxing Disney Solo Magic trip. And I'll tell you something, when I saw those answers and how many of you voted for that, it brought a real tear to my eye. I'm not going to lie. It brought a real tear to my eye because, one, I feel like, you all don't know how much of my life has changed over the last year. So you don't even know how much, having some time just kind of think and consolidate is, and heal is useful and good and needed. So having people, strangers, say that made me feel just very cared for and looked out for, and I appreciate that. But also, when I saw those answers, to me, it really was an indication of all of us really being on a similar wavelength. And for those of you who like did pick lightning lanes and things like that, like I definitely want that as part of my trip as well. Like, don't get me wrong. But to me, all of the answers combined really indicated a group of people like myself talking, because that's how podcast works, but you all listening, with all of us kind of like being on the same page about the importance of Disney as a real like place of healing and reflection, and not just go, go, go all the time. But if you are going, it's like probably as a way to do healing as well. And so I just wanted to thank you all for that, for like seeing that and recognizing that, but also just for being here. Like, when I saw those answers for those 5 questions, I just thought it is really, really cool what we're building here. And I've been really on the fence about how to keep growing that. And, the other questions that you answered for me about like, the things that you want more of or less than that, like in the podcast, all of the answers were basically like, nah, like just keep going. Like, just keep doing what you're doing. Like all the answers pretty much were like that. So I'm not going to go through all of those. I mean, there was one response where I talked about length of the episodes and you were like, just keep going. Like, just keep talking, girl. So I was like, okay, great. That's good to know that I don't need to think about modifying content or that too much. But the other questions about like more interaction on social media, for example, or other opportunities to talk, like a book club or things like that, or like things like workbooks and stuff, which I like the idea of, because I want to provide content and value to you, but there's just something about it that never really stuck. And what I really realized after looking at those answers and thinking about them over the last month is I feel like this podcast can really become a community for all of us to really come together and talk about like hashtag Disney Solo Magic. Like, it is so cool. Like, I know you all are like thinking about, well, I don't know all of you, but I know that some of you send me DMs when you're talking about your own trips and thinking about your own trips and all that stuff. And I want you all to get to know each other too. And the thing about the different platforms, social media platforms, is like, I go on Threads and people are just like, oh, my reel didn't get, 5 million views this time. And I was like, that's just really not... I'm not interested in hearing those conversations, but those are also not metrics that I really think make sense for this particular podcast or the content I want to create. When I think about creating reels, I'm like, gosh, that's just so much time. And sometimes people find it and some people don't, but it's not really creating value or sparking conversation or like having people think about themselves and their lives in like these really broad and magical ways, the ways that I know that can happen when I've like prioritized Disney travel in my life or prioritized Disney being in my life, even at home if I'm not able to travel. When I think about like, the day that I put the survey out, I checked the results around noon and there were already people that responded and I was like, ooh, that's really cool. And I made a little story, a little video that was like, oh, you all are my people. I'm so excited that we all found each other. And I know that some of you can't see that because you're not on social media, or you can't be on social media during the day because you are working in an office or a school or whatever. And so that content gets lost, and I just want a place where people can go and chat and talk about these things. And I do want to create more content for you, more like reflections from myself, more behind the scenes stuff, things that are a little bit more sloppy as a Virgo. I like it when public things are as put together as possible. So to like think about just putting a random video up on YouTube or not YouTube, but YouTube, but also Instagram or Facebook that's not kind of completely polished, that doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. So I thought the best way to do that is to create a space where we can all chat and talk, and I can provide you with more behind the scenes content where hopefully that we can build a community in which we can create spaces to have discussions all together. And I just thought, let's do a Patreon. And I really hope that you are excited about this as well. When I was looking at your survey answers, I was like, I think really what we need is a space where we can all talk together, where we can all have these conversations together, where I can provide more, maybe like less censored, more swearing type of like random thoughts and things like that related to travel, related to Disney, like there were times last year when I was sitting in my office, like in an office building when I wasn't working in my home office primarily, and I would be having like a bad day and whatever. And I would like swivel my chair around and I would see a video, or I would see a picture of Cinderella Castle that just was like, right. Like, who am I doing it for? Oh, right. But looking at that picture was just a reminder, like a focus point of like, there are things bigger than these stupid, minute arguments that I am now part of. Gross. And so this Patreon is a place where I could have then picked up my phone and made a little voice note to be like, hey, this was happening. And then I thought of this. I just really want to let you know, do you have things like that in your own offices? And then you could share, and then other people could share. And then like, if you hadn't thought of that before, maybe you could do it too. Like, I just think that there'd be so many cool opportunities for that type of community building. So I think that's what the Patreon is going to be for. There are 3 different tiers: the popcorn tier, the Mickey bar tier, and the Dole Whip tier. So the popcorn tier is $3 Canadian, which is about $2 American. So like, much cheaper than any popcorn that you can get anywhere else. And that is just to support the podcast. No like extras, no, nothing like that. That's, whatever, but just to support the podcast. And of course, every once in a while, I'm sure I'll like throw in a voice note. You'll also be able to join all the chats and things like that. So yeah, it's just a really great space to support the podcast. So thank you very much if you are able to join the popcorn tier. The Mickey bar tier, on the other hand, is $5 Canadian, $3 American. So the same price as the like buy me a coffee, but that is a month-long price. And that will get you 4 different benefits. Number 1, you will get these random voice notes. Random voice notes, and also things like photographs and like, oh, that was what I meant to say too. So like pictures from my trip and things like that. Things that work on the Instagram grid very well because I try to keep a nice clean grid. I can post those on the Patreon so you can access them there, especially because they're behind a paywall. So they can be maybe more silly pictures or whatever. So you'll be able to access all of that. You'll also get, and I think all of you are going to be really, really into this. I am so excited about this. You are going to get access to the video interviews for all of the solo stories that I do. So when I record the solo stories, we record over Zoom. And although I can see the people and they can see me and we have the most fun time laughing and talking, you are only listening to the audio. So I have just been throwing out the videos because I initially did offer them to the people I was interviewing, but like, it's a lot of work to create content like a reel from that. So instead, what I've decided to do is to package up the ones that I do going forward, put them on YouTube under a private account, and make that available to people on the Mickey bar tier. So like, we have such a wonderful time talking. I hope that you can hear that when you listen to these interviews, but to see us talking, because sometimes I have to like mute myself. So to like see us talking and laughing is just, I guarantee you, so much more fun. So you get access to all those videos. On the Mickey bar tier as well, you also get access to the monthly breakdown of episodes that I am planning. So you can make a comment about whether or not you want something particular answered in one of those episodes. And if I can fit it in, I will. And you'll get a chance to vote on future episodes. So for example, there's going to be a poll coming up about the Disney dining plan, for example. Should there be an episode on that, considering they just dropped all these new promotions? And so you can weigh in on that. The third tier is the Dole Whip tier. It's $10 Canadian or $7 American. It's very good that I didn't price these actually according to what these things actually cost in the parks. Like, it's important not to look at like Disney dollars outside like being actually at Disney. Although I know it's a Dole Whip $7. Anyway, With this Dole Whip tier, you get a twist, a little blend of a little bit more self-reflection, both for myself and suggestions for you, as well as the tips and tricks and behind-the-scenes stories and things like that. So you get everything that you would get on the Mickey Bar tier. You get that access to the video solo stories. You get these like random voice notes. There's already a few up there about packing and stuff like that. You get the monthly breakdown. You get the chance to do the polls. But for the Dole Whip tier, you also get a little voice addendum to every single episode where I record, after either recording the episode or editing the episode, just some like random thoughts about the episode. Maybe a story that I thought was too personal to share in the actual episode that I want to share with you now. Or maybe something happening while I was recording, like my cat's trying to get into my suitcase that I wanted to talk about, or maybe something that I heard when I was editing that I really wanted to expand on. So you will get access to all of those kind of addendums, those little postscripts, those little PS notes for every single episode, including the solo stories. At this tier, you also are going to get your very own episodes every season that really talks about the idea of like solo magic in and out of the parks and how you can bring that more into your life in that particular season. So right now we're going into spring, and so I have a whole episode planned. It's different than the Flower and Garden episode that's going to come out in a couple weeks, and it's really an episode that you could like listen to while you're like walking and thinking and like looking at the world changing because it's spring, mainly because it's spring, and like think about that. And depending on how popular those episodes will go, maybe it'll be more than just once a season. But then the other thing that I'm hoping to do every single month is a meetup, like a video meetup. Now, right now, I've just called it a video Q&A, and I think until we get like enough people, I'll just record the answers to questions that you all post for me, just, like randomly, and then I'll post those videos for you. But what I'm really hoping is that we get enough people, even just like 5 people. I'm going to keep myself very modest, and that we can do something like a video meetup discussion, like Zoom hangout sometime in the summer. So that's really my goal. And if that wasn't enough, and actually I'm really excited about this particular perk, if that wasn't enough, the other thing that people get on the Dole Whip tier is a birthday card that I'll send you in the mail, because who doesn't like to get like fun mail in the mail? So yeah, so that's what you get with the Dole Whip tier. For all of the tiers, again, you get to join and be part of this community. There's going to be chat rooms that you can join and comment on and get to know each other. Like, I think that's really great. And it will be a space that's different than Facebook and like your uncle's memes and the things like, if you don't copy and paste this now, Mark Zuckerberg is going to use all my photos for advertisements or whatever. Or on Instagram that, the Instagram community related to Disney is great, but there's also a lot of just stuff that really like encourages you to buy and this and that. And I don't know, like maybe you want to just kind of be out of that a little bit. And so I'm really hoping that this can be a space where we can all kind of come together. I know a lot of you are interested in a book club, so that'd be really cool to do something like that again through the Patreon. And then with the other tiers, you get more access to me, but also hopefully if there's enough of us, we can start to build a community. So, I'm really nervous about launching this because it's really hard to throw a party that nobody shows up to. And it's also really hard to throw a party when people show up to it and they're like, oh, this is it. So it feels really vulnerable. It feels very vulnerable to launch this Patreon right now. So really right now, my goal is just like a couple dozen of us, like a dozen. Like I was like, okay, what's a number that I won't feel terrible about? And I was like, let's try for a dozen. Let's try for a dozen. So yeah, please be part of my dozen. I would really love more than that, obviously, but I'm just trying to think of, anyway, I'm getting very, very much in my head right now. There's a couple other things I want to say. Number one, if you can't support the podcast by joining the Patreon or you're not interested, no worries. I totally get it. It's not for everybody. No problem. Nothing about this particular podcast is going to change. In fact, the podcast is going to be exactly the same. It is going to have the same type of content, the same type of information. What is going behind the paywall is additional information that is more community building. So if you've just loved listening to this podcast the way it is, that's great. Nothing's going to change. But if you want to hear further reflections on episode, or to see the videos of the interviews, or to meet other people who are listening to this podcast and interested in solo magic, Disney solo magic in and out of the parks, then that is what the Patreon is for. Think of it like Club 33 for the podcast. So if you can't support it, that's cool, but don't worry, none of this content is going to change. The other thing is I've set it up so you get a week free. And this is a great week to do free because I'm going to be away on my trip, and I'm going to post pictures and do voice notes and things like that, literally while I'm at the park, and I can post those right away. And, whenever I post things on my stories, or I go live, for example, on Instagram, not everyone is around, especially if I'm traveling in the middle of the week and people are in the office. So this is just a place that those videos and those immediate thoughts can live away from Instagram and on a platform that more people have access to. So right now with the free trial, it's a great opportunity to go and check in on what's happening, right? So I think that's really awesome. So I would love this to be a thing like the early days of the podcast, where I also did not look at the numbers and just allow them to grow, to germinate as their own thing. But unfortunately, unfortunately for me and my little heart, because I want to be able to provide you with so much content this week as I am at Disney World, then I will be on a lot and I will respond to your DMs and the chats and all of that stuff. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I hope you are too. I really, really hope you are too. So what is coming up for the podcast in April? So next week I will post an episode about my trip. I don't know what it's going to be about yet. I mean, we'll see once I come back and do I want to tell you about the food? Do I want to tell you about the festival? Do I want to tell you about the water park? So we'll just kind of see. The week after that, it's going to be about celebrating the Flower and Garden Festival at home. I think a lot of you really liked the episode about celebrating the International Festival of the Arts at home. So I'm excited for this episode as well. And just to go back to the Patreon really quickly, in the episode about celebrating the Festival of the Arts at home, I suggested things like do art at home or make something colorful and all that. And I posted a whole bunch of those pictures of me doing those things on Instagram and stories in particular. So, of course, some of you saw that. But what I really hope the Patreon can do is that if you do that at home too, then you can also post your pictures so that we can all get these cool ideas and cheer on each other. Because I think in some cases, being a Disney fan can feel really isolating if you live in a family that doesn't want you to talk about it. I may be speaking from experience, and you might not feel the same kind of resonance with other memes or other ways that this community, the Disney creator community, kind of manifests. And so this is going to be a space that I'm hoping that people can share that. So anyway, the Flower and Garden Festival at home. Then there's going to be an episode that's called Just Ask. And this is a really funny episode because I've talked about it a few times on the podcast because it came to me last year while I was hiking. And I would go hiking in my neighborhood and I would record these little sound bites that I was great, I'm going to put them all together and make those into one episode. And then I listened to them back and they don't sound very professional. I had to re-record the whole thing, and I had to do a narrative and all that stuff. And so Okay, just to go back to the Patreon really quickly. So those types of voice notes are ones that I can post on the Patreon. But it's taken almost a year to put all of those little ideas together into one full episode that I realized wasn't just a list of random tips. They all came under the same umbrella of just ask. So I'm really excited to share that with you. And then we round out the month by a solo story about doing a Run Disney event solo. And it was so great. It was, oh my God, it was such a great conversation. I learned so much. I got so many ideas for the podcast. You're going to love it too. And if you are a Patreon member, you'll be able to watch us have this conversation on YouTube with the behind the scenes video, which is excellent, excellent. So that is what is coming up in April. In May, we have a lot of solo stories. There's a huge lineup of people that I've connected with who want to talk. Some people from Disneyland. I know that a lot more of you are interested in Disneyland content as well. So don't worry, we got that. And a lot of you were definitely interested in the Deluxe Resort series. So I'm going to plan that series for July and August, which I am into. I already know that there is a poll related to that particular series that is not for April, but I think it's going to go up in May. So if you're a Patreon member, check that out. And yeah, it's going to be just a fun-filled spring and summer of content. And again, I hope you'll join me for the Patreon community, the Disney Solo Magic Patreon community. I'm really excited to build it with you. Like we are early days people. We can really build it however we want. So thank you so much for supporting the podcast. Thank you for listening this past year. I'm really excited for the year to come. And in today's world, it is hard to be excited about too much. I can't wait to show you my trip pictures and all of that stuff. I have the cutest outfits that I am planning. All right, everyone, have a wonderful week. Happy April 1st. This is no fooling. It is the second year of the podcast. And yeah, I'll see you on Patreon. Bye. Hey Solos, it's Samantha. I hope you like this episode as well as all the episodes of Disney Solo Magic, the #1 podcast for solo travel to Disney World. You can support this podcast by rating, reviewing, subscribing, and sharing this podcast on Apple, Spotify, and on the YouTube platforms. However, you can also support this podcast and build the Disney Solo Magic community by joining us on Patreon. We have 3 different tiers at different price points, starting at $2 American, and I'm hoping that it'll be a really great place that you can meet other people, both get and share tips and tricks for solo travel to Disney World, and to create larger conversations about how to bring Disney Solo Magic into your everyday life. So please join us. The link to the Patreon is below.